My girlfriend just gave birth to our first child. I know I am not the biological father, and I revealed I knew as soon as she gave birth. I found out when she was about 6 months along. The guy, Brian, approached me at work. Are you Sarah's boyfriend? I said yeah and asked what he wanted. He said he was sorry and that he had slept with her and swore he didn't know that she was with someone. I don't believe that. He then pulled out his phone to show a text between them. They had been sleeping or linking up for at least a year. Then she found out that she was pregnant and they came to an agreement to just pretend the baby was mine. In return, she wouldn't lose her perfect life and he wouldn't be responsible for a baby. I knew it was weird. We had been having problems trying for a baby and all of a sudden she got pregnant so easily. But he explained that he was thinking about it and he recently became a Christian. He said that he couldn't live his life knowing that I was living a lie while his child didn't know their real father. So yeah, I told him I'd keep in touch and to not say that he said anything just yet. I've had a lot of time to think, but ultimately I decided to wait until she gave birth, to hurt her in the most vulnerable moment. I'll spare the details, but she went into labor, baby was born, and was taken to the NICU to be monitored for a bit. What should have been a beautiful moment of me holding my baby was the most heartbreaking time of my life. Just knowing he was not mine hurt me. Once she was sewn up and comfortable, I started packing up my stuff to leave. She asked where I was going, and I just told her. I know I'm not the baby's father. You can act all shocked, but I know. Just ask Brian to come. I'm positive he'll sign the birth certificate. Then I left. She's been calling my phone over and over, even sending texts as I type this, and has gotten her sister to call me a few times. It was hard pretending these last few months, but I think I'm satisfied. I feel really heartbroken though. I was planning to propose to her on the day our baby was born. I was gonna make her the happiest woman ever. Oh well, I'm gonna go get shit-faced now. I took my fiance home to meet my family and left with no fiance. I, 30 female, got engaged in March of this year to E, 31 male, that I have been dating for the last 3 years. It was heavenly bliss until I introduced him to my family. We went home to meet my family and it was important for him to get their blessing. I didn't care either way, but I did it to make him happy. Everyone was welcoming of him and seemed genuinely happy for us. Before the trip was over, my eldest brother suggested a sibling/partners camping trip in a cabin up north to bond and get to know my fiance away from our parents. I was reluctant as I typically didn't spend this much time back home, but eventually agreed. The trip was going well, so I let my guard down and decided to enjoy being in the mountains with my siblings. However, the day before the trip was over, everything changed. My sister and her husband were on their 17th argument of the day, and it was only 11 a.m. Her husband stormed out and she stayed there, just crying. I don't do well with other people's emotions, so I suggested a hike to clear everyone's head. My fiance suggested that us siblings go so that my sister could talk freely if she needed to. I asked if he was sure, and he stated that he just checked some emails while we were out. Early on the hike, my sister said that she just wanted to go home. I offered to walk her back, but she said she wanted to clear her mind. We continued our hike and she went back to the cabin. After the hike, my brother and his wife wanted to explore, but I just wanted to shower, so I headed back to the cabin. My sister's car was still outside, even though it was a couple hours later in the day. I ignored it and went inside. I heard soft moans coming from upstairs and then a familiar grunt. Oh no, I was not thinking this was gonna go this way. I went upstairs only to see my fiance and my sister together in the worst way. Something broke inside of me. I took a pic of what I saw, quietly grabbed my things, and left my ring on the counter. I left, sent the picture to the family group chat, and I turned my phone off. The next day, I had 47 missed calls from my family and 75 plus texts from my fiance. Apparently, her husband got the text as he was returning to the cabin and wasn't so kind to my fiance. Initially, I felt justified in my actions. I hated it, but I did. However, I know now that even though what they did was terrible, what I did was wrong too. Sending that picture to the family chat was gross, and the innocent family members didn't deserve to get dragged into that. My engagement is over. I removed myself from the family group chat, and I haven't spoken to anyone about it since. These last few months have just felt so empty. I just want to move past this, but I don't know how.
Am I in the wrong for not wanting my autistic cousin at my child-free wedding? Next spring, I'm getting married to the love of my life. We have decided that we don't want children at our wedding. Not many of our friends and family have young children, and the ones that do are fine with getting a sitter for the weekend since we gave them a lot of notice. The only ones to put up a fight are my aunt and uncle who have a daughter with autism. She's 20, but will be 21 by the time that my wedding comes around. She is what they call high functioning, which means that she can talk and wash and dress herself. And she has some friends. She graduated from high school a couple years ago and is currently living with her parents while working at a grocery store. Despite her being technically an adult, I just don't see her as such. Every time I talk to her at a family gathering, it's like talking to a child. She's obsessed with toy ponies and Barbie dolls and brings them up at every opportunity. She draws in her notebook constantly and never makes eye contact when talking to me. She doesn't have loud meltdowns like other special needs kids that I've met before, but I really don't want to risk her ruining my special day. I told my aunt and uncle that I didn't want her there, and they became very upset. They said that she already saw the invite and knew it was child-free, but because she's an adult, she thought that she's still included. My aunt tried to guilt me by saying that she'd already picked out a dress and gift, but I didn't want to hear it. My fiance says that I'm being an a-hole and that we should let her attend because she's attended other weddings before with no issue. Everyone is making me feel horrible for not treating her like an adult when she doesn't act like one. So, am I in the wrong? My husband got a husband stitch behind my back, and a year later, I can't get over it. For those of you who don't know, a husband stitch is an extra stitch done on the vagina after birth to make it tighter for the husband. I, 25 female, gave birth a year ago, and my husband, 34 male, who was a surgeon at a hospital I delivered, was asked by his colleague, the OBGYN, if he wanted an extra stitch. My husband said yes because he thought it would make sex better for the both of us. I didn't notice as I was out of it, but I was in a lot of pain afterward. Since it was my first kid, I wasn't sure if this was normal or not. I kept asking the nurses, who told me it might be because of the husband stitch. I asked her what that was, and she explained to me. I thought at first that the doctor had just done it and I wanted to report him, but then my husband said that he agreed to it. I felt violated. This wasn't the first time a man violated my body. I was a molestation victim as a child, but this was the first time it was someone that I loved. When I told him this, my husband was extremely angry. He said he did it for both of us and that he didn't think it was such a big deal, that he didn't know it would cause issues. I pointed out that he was a neurosurgeon and he said he wasn't an OBGYN. I screamed at him to get out, and in the end, I had to be sedated. I had the same reaction every time he tried to see me. So for the whole time I was at the hospital, 3 weeks because of slow recovery, I didn't see him. Now my son has turned a year old and things between us are non-existent. I only talk to him about our son. We sleep in different rooms and I don't let him so much as kiss me. He's extremely remorseful, especially as he saw how much it affected my recovery. He genuinely thought it was okay, as the colleague presented it as, it will make sex better. But why would a tighter vagina feel better for women? That only feels good for men. He's asked for couples therapy, which I've refused. I have taken up freelancing, so I'm making my own money. My husband thinks that I'm doing that because I plan to leave him, as I was initially dependent on him. He's partially right. I don't see myself getting over this. I'm no contact with my family and I live in his country. I have no friends but his friends, no family but his. Everyone's on me to make things right. They say that he was wrong, but I can't hold one mistake over his head. My current country isn't exactly known for women's rights. Femicide is more common here than you might think. I'm also on a spouse visa. I can't leave him until my son is at least old enough to remember me, because if I leave, there's a 90% chance that I'll lose custody. What should I do in the meantime to make our relationship bearable? My husband and I opened our relationship, and now I think that he prefers our girlfriend. I'm 34 female and my husband, 35 male, have been together for 14 years. We have a 7 and 3-year-old together. 3 years ago, my husband got, well, I don't want to say bored, but I'm not sure what else to call it. So after a while, mostly begging on his part, I accepted to introduce a third into our marriage. We can call her Harper, 25 female. My husband knew Harper before everything. She's his sister's friend, another awkward story, and it's been 3 years. I love Harper. She's like crazy sweet, the children love her, we do girls trips, split everything 50-50, go shopping, etc. But my husband most definitely prefers Harper. He pushes her to do exercise, to diet, to dress pretty, but she's also the first one that he'll text if he gets good or bad news. She's the first one he'll greet when he gets home. They go on dates once a week, and my husband said it's because Harper insisted and I didn't. I confronted him about this and he said he just feels more intimacy and that she's his best friend. I pointed out that I'm the mother of his children and he used to say that I was his best friend. He said he loves the both of us, but feels this warmth when he thinks of Harper. Harper doesn't leave me out of anything. She's always going out of her way to include me, to spoil the children and make sure everything is equal. I don't know what to do because I love Harper. I just want my husband to need me like he used to. I want to be my husband's favorite. All advice is welcome.
Am I wrong for getting a hotel room for my daughter entirely for herself after her stepsisters made her sleep on the floor? My dad passed away 2 weeks ago. Me, my wife Candace, and my daughter 16, Shiloh, and her stepsisters 19 and 17 flew to my hometown to attend the funeral. After that, we got 2 hotel rooms, one for me and Candace and one for the girls. While I was in the room, I got a call from Shiloh at 11 p.m. crying and sounded like she was arguing with her stepsisters. I asked her what the matter was, and she told me that her stepsisters insisted that she sleep on the floor. There was one large bed in the room, and there was enough space for all 3 girls to sleep on. I asked why, and she said she didn't know. I went to see what the issue was and talk with my stepdaughters about it. They kept talking, but didn't really explain why they told her to sleep on the floor. They just shrugged and said, "It's better this way. We're more comfortable this way." I told Charlotte to grab her things, and when one of my stepdaughters asked where we were going, I told her I was booking her a hotel room. Both looked upset but didn't say anything, but they must have called their mom because she was awake when I got back and started arguing with me about giving Shiloh an entire hotel room for herself. I explained why I did it, but she said I wasted money and that Shiloh could have sucked it up for one night on the floor. I called her unreasonable for this, but she told me I showed the girls that I'm playing favorites and made my stepdaughter share a room while I gave my daughter the entire room for herself. We went home and Candace is still breaking up, saying I mishandled this. She even pointed out how my stepdaughters are upset since they're not speaking to me. Edit. It was Candace who got a room for all 3 girls as to not stir any drama and save money. She was in charge of hotel reservations since I was emotionally distressed. Also, Candace did not expect Shiloh to sleep on the floor. She wanted all 3 girls to share the bed.
Am I in the wrong for rejecting my boyfriend's proposal because I lose my health insurance and alimony? I, 44 female, divorced my ex-husband, 47 male, 2 years ago and have been dating my boyfriend, 45 male, since. My ex and I were fighting a lot, but the divorce was less litigious than expected. My ex-husband, James, and I were married for 21 years. In the state of Massachusetts, I, as his ex-spouse, was able to stay on his group health insurance. In addition, the judge ordered that since I stayed home to raise our 4 kids, 21 male, 19 female, 18 male, and 16 male, that I get alimony for life, or until only I, not my ex, got remarried. In terms of health insurance, I'd lose it if either James or I were married. However, James has been very open about the fact that he hates the idea of marriage or marrying again even more than he hates me still being covered under his health insurance policy. His exact words were, "Well, luckily for you, it's not emotionally or financially cost effective for me to marry just to get you off my health insurance." For the entire length of our marriage, part of the reason I didn't work is because my ex is a doctor, and after doing calculations, we realized I'd never make enough to even get close to covering the childcare costs for 4 kids. I checked and saw that if I had continued my administrative job, I'd be making $17 an hour today. I have no chance of making that even now. My boyfriend and I are very much in love. In many ways, I wish I met him first. He's empathetic, and unlike my ex, he values work-life balance instead of running between a private practice and a psych ward at a county hospital to work 24/7. However, my boyfriend and I don't live together, and besides small presents for each other, we pay for ourselves. Things were good, but my boyfriend changed after I had my pregnancy scare. He said that if I get pregnant again, he wants to be living under one roof, and not like 2 divorced parents. So he proposed. I was upset, but I had to turn it down because, love aside, this was my health insurance and the only source of income on the line. I didn't understand why my boyfriend was so upset and didn't understand. He is a case manager at a nonprofit and we'd be living on half the income I'm currently living on if we take out child support. And that is bound to create tension on both sides. Just want to add, we can't move in together either, as the archaic family court laws would see and assume that my boyfriend and I would be sharing finances, or I would be in some way supported by my boyfriend by the fact of us moving in together. If I could move in together with him and not lose my benefits, we'd be doing so. So, am I in the wrong? Am I in the wrong for deciding not to sleep with someone after I saw them naked? This just happened right now and I'm going through a bunch of emotions. I'm 20 male. I was at a friend's house to celebrate her birthday. It was just a low-key get-together and she had friends over that I'd not met before. We played some party games after an hour, cut the cake, and then I started talking to Claire, 22 female. She seems like a great girl, but 15 minutes later, a bunch of them suddenly want to go clubbing. Claire asked me if I want to hang out over at her place instead. I said sure. We talked for about an hour and somehow we're on the topic of sex. Turns out we're both virgins. I thought she looked attractive, so I made a move and she reciprocates. We kissed for a few minutes and she starts undressing. Here's the thing. She was a lot bigger than I anticipated. Her clothing was really baggy, and once she took them off, she looked very different. I know that corn spoils the brain, but I like to add that I definitely do not have extraordinary high expectations off women. I myself am not an alpha-looking stud, and don't expect every woman to be graced with superior physical genetics, a six-pack abs, and heavenly tatas. It's just at that moment, I realized I was definitely not attracted to Claire. I didn't know what to do, so I lied and said that she looked beautiful. We kissed some more, and I realized more and more I didn't want it to go all the way, so I stopped, and said that I was feeling way too anxious to continue. She tried soothing me, but I insisted that I was just too scared and we stopped. I took off and I'm currently waiting on the train station to get back home. I'd given Claire my Insta and she just told me to have a safe journey home. I feel like a D-head if I'm being honest. I'm happy about the way that I went about it and said no. I didn't want to do it and would have done it mostly due to the pressure of not wanting to be rude. I still feel guilty though. I just told a friend and he had a right laugh about how dumb I sounded. He said I was an a-hole, but it's good that I said no.